episode 333. That's your thing, isn't it? Or is it just 33? I don't remember. What's that? You had a thing back in the day about threes.
Yeah.
333.
All the three.
You guys have done 333 podcasts?
Yes.
Wow.
That's 333 of the Mograph podcast. We've also done a bunch of specials as well. So we've done more than 333 episodes.
Hey.
Thank you.
Everybody's falling in here. Blue Woods, what's up? You're my boy, Blue.
There we go.
All right. There we go. There we go. Looks like we're good on the Mograph TVs. Turn it on and yank the knob off.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna need a... Oh, subscribers only. That's right. You changed it to that, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did, didn't I?
It's good.
We'll see
Apparently,
how that goes.
It says I'm subscribed. Weird. All right, let me pop out this chat.
Gustav, good presentation this week. Good presentation.
Yeah, man.
Very, very good. I'm getting into that ACEs thing. I started kind of getting a workflow going, but
The few times I've worked in ACEs, I've enjoyed it.
yeah, I
Not
kind of
too bad.
I'm interested in Gustav's workflow because I know people do it differently. So
Dan
all right.
Marino.
Emmett Smith.
Troy Aikman. I love that we always just mention football players from the 90s. It's like we
Right.
don't know
I
any
don't know any.
current football
Yeah.
players.
Herschel Walker.
You kind of relate to that too.
Let's see.
Okay. 333. Lucky 333. Looks like we're all set up and ready to go here. Flags out, bat signals
Sup,
out.
Todd?
All the streams are going. So I think we're good to go. I'm going to crack open a sparkling iced caffeine beverage. Strawberry citrus.
Hey,
Got to get my caffeine
I've
on.
been in Monsterland for the past little while. Like, Kroger couldn't keep Mountain Dew Zero in stock, so I'm just like, all right, screw it. I'm just going full Monster now.
You got to go Amazon for that stuff, man.
Nah, man, it's too expensive.
Yeah, but they deliver it to your door.
So
You don't have to carry it like a sucker.
yeah, I gotta use my hands. It's like a baby's toy.
All right. Here we go. All right. Got my notes. Everybody ready? Everybody feeling good? Comfy?
Yeah,
Relaxed?
let's do
Nice and
Sounds
loose?
good.
All right. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Here we
Do
go.
some stretching.
Yeah. All right. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt. Joining us today from Wild Capture, Mr. Will Driscoll.
Hey folks, thanks for having me. Pleased to be on this podcast. Hey community.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show, questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, artist suggestions, show topic ideas. We're on mograph.com and youtube.com/mograph, conveniently, if you'd like to check out our schedule, check out some of the other episodes, maybe some of the other stuff we got going on there on the site, actually, speaking of which. Still putting out those articles there if you'd like to see some cool articles on Cinema 4D and motion graphics. Check that out. There's been a couple lately, and I haven't really talked about them or anything, so go check them out. And yeah, if you have a question about motion graphics, if you're just getting into it, you want to know more about it, feel free to email us. You know, don't feel shy or scared to email us. We love hearing from people. We love knowing that you're out there and that we're not screaming into a void sometimes.
One of us, or maybe even both, will answer you.
and what was I gonna say? Give us a lowdown on where we are right now with Camp Mograph.
Camp
I don't know
Mograph.
if there's any updates that you want to talk about or anything right now. We're kind of in the planning.
Nothing I really want to talk about. We have been working hard at, booking flights and figuring out cool swag items. Oh man, I'm so excited for everyone to see some of the other stuff that we've got in store for people. It's really, really cool. I'm very excited. But nothing on that front. We do actually, I will mention for those coming to camp, we are actually working on doing a Camp Mograph portal to where people who are coming to camp can sign in and see a rundown of like everything, like signing up for the shuttle or letting us know if you're tent camping or what things you should bring and stuff. So it's one page on the site where you will be able to get all that stuff, all that information, which is awesome.
Yes, and
I think it's gonna be great.
It's not the thing that went out by accident last
No.
week.
We were trying to figure out like a members area thing on Wix, which is what we use for the site, and like it's like, oh, okay, let's send out a thing to everyone who subscribes to this. And it's like, no, no,
we didn't.
So if you got an email, we apologize. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. It'll be really convenient. We got everyone's flights booked, so that's a lot of fun, and that was a lot of work. But yeah, super excited. Big shout out to our sponsors. Give them a big shout out. First, of course, is our global sponsor Otoy, who is sponsoring the whole event. So we're super excited to have them on board. And then our two village sponsors, Maxon and Video Copilot. And then our gold sponsor, Grayscale Gorilla. So thank you so much to all of our sponsors for helping us keep ticket prices down and bring in some amazing fun stuff and get some cool swag for everyone. So if you're coming to camp, make sure you add a little bit room in your, travel suitcase or whatever so that you can, bring some of your swag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else in that area? We're going to have a lot more updates as we get closer, but...
Yeah. Dude, it's only it's like less than 3 months away.
I can't believe
that is
it.
crazy.
Crazy.
I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
So...
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yep. Super exciting.
Yeah, and that's almost it for the week wrap-up. I've been playing more with Midjourney. Just absolutely.
Yeah.
You had a chance to play with it.
I did get on it. Yeah, I got on it. So here's the thing that like my brother pointed this out because I was telling him about it, and like he's a photographer. He does a lot of photography stuff for like, actual like electronics and stuff. And he's like, all right. I said, give me a prompt, and he gave me a prompt of like woman sitting at a desk with the computer lighting her face and wearing a VR headset or something like that. The thing is, like, the details just aren't there, that I've noticed with some of this AI stuff versus like DALL-E that I've seen on, some of the renders that people have been doing. Like DALL-E is nice. Like it actually gets those fine details and stuff like that. But, for me, it's an amazing starting place.
Exactly.
If you're trying to find like a really good like style frame or something like that, and you can actually like do it. There was a few that I saved that I'm like, I just want to recreate these in 3D and use this as the starting point and stuff like that. One of my and then for fun, I did what was it? It was Austin Powers in the style of Beeple,
It's funny.
So
well,
that was
looks
always
like
fun.
Winkleman there.
Right? I know, it kind of does. So this was the fourth.
More like Winkleman in the style of Austin Powers.
Right. So anyway, that was fun.
Will, have you played with any of the AI stuff yet?
I played with those. I played with the digital, was it digital diffusion? There's a whole bunch of them that kind of just came all at once. I've been, the avenue I'm on usually is these weird scholarly articles that you can just run through Python 3 that, we're more into the pose estimation, face blending, that kind of stuff. But I love how it's being simplified for artists just to mash things together. So I had to double take. I'm like, where is all this crazy generative art coming from? And all of a sudden it's these few packages all at once kind of snuck up there.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for my Dolly 2 invite. I put it in a long time ago. That one's harder to get into than some of the others, but you know.
I didn't try I'm curious if you were to do the exact same prompt over and over again, does it give you the same results?
No.
Or man,
No.
so it's
In
something brand new every single time?
Yeah, I mean it might look similar, you know, because when you do a prompt in Midjourney and you say, you know, iterate on this one and you hit V1 or whatever, it's kind of like that. It's just starting over. There's actually a refresh button to the right of those buttons, and if you hit it, it'll do a whole new 4 over. So if you have a prompt and you really want to get started, you could just do that same prompt like 4 or 5 times and get something really going, you know. But I call it the outboard imagination.
Outboard imagination.
It's your outboard imagination. Like your outboard brain, you know, is like your notepad, your outboard imagination.
Right.
Like
I love that. I love that.
I'm
That's
telling
great.
you, I have had like a second like just I don't know how to describe it. Like I've been doing I put out a couple dailies. I've been doing some stuff, you know, just experimenting with some things just to learn new software and stuff lately, and like that has been such a great starting point of just getting that spark flowing. And I probably said that last week too. It's better than opening blank Cinema 4D. Yeah. You know, or even better than doing a Google search for stuff. It doesn't really give you what you really have in your head, and something will hit. And you know, even the one I did the other day, I feel like it didn't come up with what I came up with in the end, but putting those prompts in and seeing what it came up with started getting the juices flowing. And then I'm like, oh wait, I'm gonna do this. You know, it wasn't anything like what the AI came up with, but it still helped me just get out of that block. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's great. I know some people are crapping on it, but you know,
it's a tool.
It's a tool.
Exactly.
You know?
It's another tool that has its purposes.
Got to embrace it, right?
Michael, I'm curious. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I'm curious how it's going to impact speed art. So you've got the speed artists who do landscape, and how that's going to translate to the next, like, generate 3D models from kits and whatnot. So
the question is, like, you know, if you can somehow convert a picture into a 3D object, like for example, you just take a bunch of PNGs of like a whole bunch of spiders, right? And and then you somehow generate those into 3D, you know, it's like, okay, now you use that spider prompt in there, and then it gives you an actual 3D model, you know?
Yeah.
Like that stuff to me is going to be insane.
Well, it's like what Otoy is doing with some of the AI generative stuff coming up in some of the new updates, you know, where it can create 3D stuff based on photos, you know. That might be a cool way to go about it.
Yeah.
I think we'll be patching together these different tools for a while, you know, until we get to something like that. But, Michael in the chat says he got Dolly 2, super rad, but you only get 50 prompts a day and it flies by. Also, hey. So, yeah.
Is that for paid Dolly 2, or is that
I don't know
like
if there
free?
is paid right now for Dolly 2. I'm not sure about that.
Because you only get a certain amount, like, for Midjourney, you only get a certain amount for free at all. It's not per day, right?
It's total, but I pay for it. I went for the I went all in on the $30.
I got the notification. It's like you've got this much left, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm done.
And if you do the 30, then you can DM the bot. You can get all of the bot's DMs. You know.
Okay. And then it like sends it to you privately, so that you don't have to do it in the. Oh, that's nice.
So you don't feel embarrassed that you don't know how to write a prompt. It does show up in like some stream that they have somewhere of something, but like it's not in the Discord or whatever.
It was interesting seeing some of the prompts that people were writing, you know?
Yeah.
Like some people trying to make like wallpapers and stuff like that. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Also, very soon we are finally going to be releasing the RTX On course with Brandon.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Was built in Unreal 4 point something. That doesn't mean that that it's irrelevant. That 5 is out. There's a lot of stuff in 5 that's still in beta, including like the ray tracing stuff in 5 is still technically in beta. unless it came out of beta in 5.1, but I don't think so. It's a course that is not designed for beginners in Unreal. I'm going to say that right now. Don't think you're going to jump into this and if you've never used Unreal before.
Right.
But this is a course to really help you lock in your ray tracing and work on getting real-time results with that ray tracing. You know, if you've ever tried to build something in Unreal, it's real-time rendering. And then you get into it and you put a bunch of layers and other things in it, and all of a sudden this isn't real-time anymore. This course will really help you fine-tune that to get some really good looks in Unreal. So I'm going to go ahead and play the promo here so you can check it out. This is RTX On with Brandon Clements. Here we go.
Hey everyone, this is Brandon Clements inviting you to check out my new Unreal Engine real-time ray tracing course on Mograph.com. We are going to dive deep into the world of real-time ray tracing. We're going to learn about blueprints, lighting, RTX optimization, sequencer, GPU light mask, and so much more. The stories that are going to be told are only going to be limited by your imagination. So go to mograph.com/classes for more information, and I'll see you there.
There it is. There it is.
Beautiful stuff.
Really
Do we have a
looking
price
forward
point
to
on that yet? Just curious.
We do, actually, and I'm trying to remember what it is really quick while I pull things here. I'll find it while we talk about it. Yes, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at the price. We've changed some of our pricing. In fact, we haven't changed it on Houdini or Unreal, but if you go look at Caitlin's course, there has been a price change on that, if you want to go check that out. So if you're looking to get into Procreate, go take a look there, and I'm going to try and find this. I'm like digging like way into the interwebs.
Into the code.
It's like a page that we haven't put out there yet. I'm hoping that maybe this week or next it will be launched. I'm going to load this right now. Any minute now.
Any minute.
Any minute now.
In a minute. I'm going to need
in a minute.
some RTX on.
RTX on to render my...
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about it, and it's like, oh, now we have 2 courses from people from Already Been Chewed.
Oh, yeah. Technically, we do. 237.
237.
That's the
there you
price
go.
point. 237. Yep. Yeah, turn it on with Brandon. Did you see that at the end?
Yeah, I like that.
Just turn it on with Brandon. So, it's a really great course, and everybody is getting into Unreal right now, and you watch TikTok and all of that kind of stuff, and you see what people are doing with like setting up a scene and walking through it and all of that. So. Is there class you'd recommend on getting up to speed in Unreal before taking RTX on? I would say take Winbush's course.
Yeah,
and it's a very basic from the beginning course. That's like, here's how you open it. Here's how you do a new project. That kind of a thing.
Here's how you import stuff from Cinema 4D into Unreal. Here's how you do all the different texturing and stuff like that. So, it is a beginner's course. Like, it does get you up to speed on, Unreal pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now, I will say that in between that course and Brandon's course, there's a lot of personal learning that may need to take place. It's not going to get... This isn't like a part 2 to that course.
Right.
It really depends on like how comfortable you are with jumping into ray tracing stuff. If you already know a lot about ray tracing from other programs, it's going to be helpful. But you at least need to be familiar with Unreal. We actually were going through the beta testing on this course and asked some people who had no prior knowledge of Unreal to just try it and see. And they had, they were able to follow along, but it was difficult. So
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there ahead of time. If you're ready to really fine tune your ray tracing stuff, this is for you. So, yeah, that's it for the week wrap up stuff. So, Will, we're going to talk to you now, and
Yeah.
now
I'm really interested to hear more about wild capture because the stuff that I have seen online is
Yeah.
cool looking.
So before
Appreciate
we
that.
get too far into it, though, I mean, we're going to talk about what you're doing with, I guess, what would you call it, volumetric video? Is that?
Yeah,
the right term?
that's the media term for it. I can explain what it is in a minute and bring everybody, familiarize it, and explain where it's going and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and before you got into this specifically, you were in motion design, right, and all that fun stuff. And so
Yep.
give us a little idea of your background and how you got into this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I've always been good with computers, so I've always relied on programs to do a lot of the artistic tasks as much as possible. So when you were saying you hate starting a project with a box or the cube, whatever, I can't start a project with a cube. I need something to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole career, I've kind of come from that standpoint of I mash models other people created. I did text effects, all that sort of stuff. So I started out, doing titles and branding. I get to do Namco Bandai. So, at an E3 when they merged, we kept switching Namco Bandai, Bandai Namco. So I get to go through all that, and so through titles, then I get into simulations and stereoscopic 3D with all that conversion and stereoscopic effects. I thought that was really cool because it made motion graphics literally in your face or deep in your screen. So
Right.
it's nothing, what's not to love about that. And then I've gotten into all the human capture side of things with all the depth cameras and the suits and the OptiTrack and all that. So I got into the whole motion graphics, human performance side of things. So it kind of made sense that what I'm in now, volumetric video, it's essentially photogrammetry every frame. So it's video photogrammetry.
Man.
It's that simple. It's data-wise, it's chaos. So a lot of the
I can imagine.
it's hard to work with, but there's a lot of entry points. There's indie entry points with you can get a Kinect or one of these Azure cameras from Microsoft or the Intel cameras. You can do a lot of cool motion graphics with that. A lot of the stuff we do, there's intrinsic camera systems. So it's a bunch of cameras calibrated. You stand in the middle. Some of them are green screen stages. Some of them just rely on the depth sensing. But you create a hologram of somebody. And, it's a mesh sequence, a texture sequence. And so what Wild Capture does is we take that crazy data and we make it arc directable. So it's not photogrammetry every frame. It's a unified point deformed mesh that travels over time for a collidable. It's giving characters so you can redress them in fashion. We create crowd kits by just adding hats and glasses, changing the clothing. When we shoot it, there's a choreography to it, so we can take different points in time to essentially create a character out of that. So
what was your background like? Did you go to school for anything like this, or did you just kind of hop right in, or?
I went to school for like IT type of stuff, communications, the IT side of communications. But what it did is it taught me how to learn software quickly. So,
Okay.
Understanding how an interface works. Okay, where are my tools? Where's my workspace? And so after you work with a few softwares, everything kind of seems the same. So like you're saying, learn Unreal. I strongly suggest Cinema 4D users learn Unreal because at first there's a pain point, but you'll get over that pain and it's natural, just like your 3D tasks now.
Right. Yeah, there is an art to being able to pick up a program. In fact, Brandon Clements is one of those people that I would say is really good at that. He can pick up just about any piece of
Yeah.
software and just, whether he's in Cinema, Unreal, Blender, it doesn't matter what it is.
The number of times I've asked him, "Hey, have you tried this?" "Oh yeah, I've dabbled in it."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I imagine that IT background too really helps when you're going to set this stuff up, because I'm sure it gets complicated. Even the networking for everything, probably setting things up and making sure everything's working and everything's fast and
rendering for sure.
Yeah. So so tell us a little bit about how you, I guess, decided to get into this and start a company that specializes in this.
Yeah, so I had got a really lucky opportunity to join Intel. They created this capture stage in Manhattan Beach, California. It was this giant dome, and they didn't really know they were doing sports, so they did NFL, NBA. So I don't know if you'd see the player catch the ball, and then it would go to a different angle and kind of. So this was based off of that technology. It was called replay technology. They rebranded it 3 or 4 times, so I have no idea what it's called right now. Maybe TrueView or something. But they had just constructed that dome, and they wanted to do something creative with it, and they hired a team of us to kind of like work on the sports stuff, push that forward, but also see what we could do with this dome. And so we did this Wild West piece for a CES a few years ago, and the rules from up top were there has to be horses and stunts and stuff. So we had horses running around on this crazy sand pit. A guy actually gets hit in the face with a real stick. So the stunt in the scene is a real kinematic experience for the guy. And we caught it in volumetrics, so we have a matrix experience. It can be found if you look up Wild West CES Intel Studios.
I'll find it.
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
There's a few clips. Anyway, it was pretty cool because what was really cool about that was the vision was a cinematographer can design the camera move after the fact.
Right.
You shoot the scene spatially. So it's like a hollow experience right in front of you, and then you fly through with the camera. And so that was kind of their vision.
Intel Studios debut volumetric video demo?
Probably,
Sure.
I think so.
Okay.
They have like a marketing video too. I just want to make sure it's not that one. But anyway,
Yeah, guy gets hit in the face with a stick. Yeah.
You got it. That's the one. But
Wow.
yeah, so this was really cool to create, and there was a lot of problems to solve in 3D and faking it, if you will.
So is the set here all digital?
It's a
after
mix.
the fact, or?
So it's facades. So that tree's a physical tree. That's a real horse. Those are real people, real props. The facades are real, and then a 3D team I was on. They built the part of it was in Unreal for that vast landscape, if you will, and then it was just Maya 3D models, pretty much, I believe. And they did a pretty good job blending the two. And,
Okay, explain to me how this works.
Yeah.
Sure, it's
right.
It depends on how many cameras, but you know how you can triangulate cameras, so 3D tracking, object tracking. All these cameras are calibrated together, so they know where one another are in 3D space. So you can essentially reconstruct things in space based off of that. In this case, in the case that we use, we tend to use just RGB because my team's purists in the cinematography and visual effects sense. But there's a lot of really cool stuff happening with depth sensors as well. Microsoft built one of these stages. They have their own thing called mixed reality. Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture System or something. There's another company called Tetavi out of Israel. There's a bunch of I don't want to call them mid-grade because you can get really cool stuff out of it, but more affordable solutions using, when I say more affordable, it's just the camera arrays are, more tangible systems. But basically, there's companies called Evercoast and Soar, and there's even companies using just your iPhone, company called Volograms, something called Volue. A lot of cool like social media stuff coming out of that. So it's kind of running all over the place. But 90% of this is in the XR space. It hasn't fully trickled into production studios, and it's been used in films for crowds and whatnot. And it's mostly just filling people in, especially during the pandemic and everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we're taking it to do fashion as well, because we have these uniform solves. So we'll shoot a model doing poses and whatnot, and you can put a whole catalog on him or her.
How does that work? Do they wear just like something super basic like spandex or something?
Yeah, pretty much yoga clothes or underwear, pretty much.
Yeah.
Models don't seem to care that much, and obviously we're here to sell the clothes, so it's one of those professional courtesy kind of things. But yeah, the goal is you want as skin tight as possible, because even a t-shirt, the baggage under an arm isn't a true simulation. So but we've shot with like yoga clothes a lot, and that seems to work as well.
So are all these cameras using depth sensors in order to kind of like so basically you've got a whole bunch of cameras, and are they all just taking just images, or are they actually taking depth information as well?
So it depends on the manufacturer. So there's manufacturers who build these stages. We shot this particular talent on a stage. The brand is known as 40 Views out of France. They're just RGB. They've got advanced machine learning algorithms. So they're able just to process the RGB, and that segments the character and whatnot. And the results are really good.
Yeah.
But some of the other stages, like Microsoft does use depth cameras. There's another company, Mantis Vision, that's like very heavy on the depth sensors.
The video I'm seeing here, the topology is really clean.
Yeah.
So is something processing this?
Yeah. So we're using we have our own algorithms. In fact, there's a few patents pending and whatnot. But a lot of it's scripted through Python, and we do a lot of our work with Houdini, because you can non-destructively manage the workflow, and it's easy to automate a sequence of frames.
Right.
So
I'm assuming this isn't real time as well, right? This is
it can be. You have to optimize it like crazy. Those particular characters are right on the borderline of real time, so they would work in an Unreal experience for probably a desktop, but it wouldn't work on a VR headset or a mobile.
Wow.
But we do have a technology. We worked with a group called XR Foundation, specifically a group called Hyperconstruct, and we built something called Universal Volumetric, which is we're kind of loosely, it's totally unofficial, but we're treating it like a web alembic. So you can pack a bunch of, with all this WebXR, that's another thing we can talk about as we go. But we're heavy about the WebXR. So rather than needing installs and whatnot, our philosophy is one click and you can experience this content. And it does work on mobile phones and whatnot. So we're slow releasing something called wildcapture.live, which is a social virtual world system, and we can run these performances into it. You could host a concert, a full-length concert, if managing that content. Managing 2 hours of this content is terabytes of data raw.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can crunch it down literally within gigabytes, like heavy, let's say 200 megabytes a minute ish. For one of our high detailed characters.
That's not too bad. 200 megabytes a minute?
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And so,
that's better than ProRes, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking low poly though. Like
yeah,
these models don't hold up in VR or anything at that particular quality. Now on a stage in a social mixed reality experience, it'll sell the idea today in 2022, you know? But that's kind of what we're pushing. Our partners are pushing the whole, social virtual spaces. So artists.
I'm playing music in the stream. Sorry, my bad. You didn't hear it, but I played something. Sorry, keep going. I was bringing up this performance here. I thought I had it muted, but
yeah. So this is Lado. She's out of Atlanta. We did this with a group called You Are Here for Sprite, and we shot it at Georgia State University Creative Media Industries Institute.
Okay.
And that's a CMII, but
okay.
it's a brilliant facility in the heart of Atlanta where university students are learning all these high-end crafts. Like this stage exists at the school. They can go shoot their own projects and everything.
Man.
So it's pretty, and it's like these
wrinkles
stages,
on the clothes.
And
I didn't
like,
realize
I'm
you could
rotating
move
around this character.
Wow.
Yep. So this is all streaming from the web right now. And so so we shot a bunch of performances. So this can go into a virtual world experience.
That's so cool.
You notice I don't say the M buzzword. I try to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No hate on it. It's just I think I can only say it so many times while I'm alive.
That's funny.
Ooh-wee. Texas allergies. So, I got a whole bunch of questions. Let me go back to the topology real quick because the topology was really clean. I noticed it wasn't too heavy, right? And so how many frames a second are you capturing when you do this?
A lot of stages do 30, some do 60. We shoot at 60 to eliminate as much motion blur as possible. Because the hands are usually a problem in a lot of situations. So shooting at a higher frame rate, you get a little more detail in the nuances. And
do you have to worry about things like shutter speed or ISO or something like that?
It's all machine cameras, so the system kind of has calibrated that for you. So as a system user, if you will, you don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
As a tech, you do. There's the light speed has to match the shutter speed, everything. You know, there's a lot of intricacies to it because it's a very sensitive system.
Gotcha.
You know, if you're on set and you bump into one of these cameras, you have to stop everything and fix that camera. It's that's how sensitive these things can be. So it's kind of it started in like a scientific sort of world at universities and whatnot. But it's now, this technology is now production ready. There's about I think 60 professional stages worldwide. At least 30 of them are like doing pretty well.
So let's say that you're going frame by frame through the mesh when it's done. Like, does the mesh match frame to frame? You know, like.
So some out of the
interesting question.
Yeah, out of the systems, the actual vendor systems, there's some called temporal coherence, which for a group of frames you'll have the same UVs and the same topology, but the frame that it breaks that, if you will, some of the faces get corrupted, or I'm not sure the algorithms specifically they would be using, but something decides, hey, we're going to switch to a new frame set. And so what we're doing is we're unifying the whole performance. Obviously, I can't get too deep into the science of it yet.
Sure.
It's something we can discuss over time, but we're using volumes. A lot of this data, it exists out of the systems in meshes, in some cases points, but we're taking it to voxels because our team's been using all that open VDB technology for about a decade. So there's a lot you can do with that. So we're essentially rigging characters with volumes is as simple as I can put it. And it's a nightmare to figure out. It took me almost 4 years to get the workflow down correct, but the whole time this has been my vision. The first time I saw this media, I was just like, this data set, nobody would adopt this data set. It's photogrammetry every frame.
Yeah.
Right.
And you use it for realism, so you want to crank the textures to at least 4K. So
Right.
And that's about where the ceiling is right now of quality, is about 2.5 to 4K for the texture quality of these characters. And it's almost entirely albedo data, base color. There's no there's a few companies working on creating the roughness and specularity maps, etc. I can't wait till you could do subsurface. Because then this will really take off. But we're going in a direction of face tracking, eye tracking, that sort of stuff. So our key product right now is known as Cohort. It's kind of a service model right now where companies hire us to produce crowds or fashion lineups. But the beautiful thing is the end result is a universal asset. So this character can go into anything like a traditional character would. You just don't have to have that huge hierarchy of everything going on. But you can reanimate these characters to an extent.
Yeah. Do they come out rigged as well?
Yeah.
That's a service we provide. It's at the end of this, the uniformity in some cases it's required. Hey, we want to do look at, or you could use this for stunts, ragdoll type stunts, all that sort of stuff. So I can't wait till somebody asks us to do a medieval or a sci-fi movie with these things and just say, shoot somebody out into space or have them fall off a horse or something, because that'll be fun. My dream in this space is to shoot somebody out of a cannon.
So there's
this is the first thing that I saw, and I was like, okay, this makes sense now with the volumetric stuff, because now you can like interact exactly with like particles and stuff like that. Like that's a really great use case for it. Even if you're going back and replacing with a different model or person or something, you've got that simulation already made. But like so. How difficult would it be to like change the texture maps and like say I wanted to add my own bump maps or my own normal maps or create something in Substance? How difficult would that be?
Well, with our uniform solves, we also include smart UVs. So we solve markerless motion capture. We get a full skeleton with finger detail and everything. It's about a B+ quality, to be totally honest with you. It's markerless motion capture has a little ways to go before it's totally locked on, but man, it's made some great strides in the last few years. And the solution we're using is pretty some of the most innovative stuff I've seen. Excuse me for a sec, I get a buzzing sound. Sorry.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking through these and
technology.
Yeah. So I'm looking through these. I guess would you describe it? It's almost like you said, like it changes every certain amount of frames. It almost seems like the way compression works. Where all of a sudden you have like another keyframe or something.
Yeah.
So how do you go about getting like the skeleton data? The rigging data and everything. Is it something that's kind of built into your software? Do you bring it into another piece of software? Is it Houdini?
A lot of it we did with Houdini, like I said, with the OpenVDB. So, trying to think of how I can answer this without my partners cringing.
Patent pending.
Right?
Yeah.
Think of it as you've got a fixed volume somebody's traveled through. And you have that information. They're realistic. They're to scale as humans, so you could start to use real world physics. So in some cases, you have to reuse the. What am I trying to say? You have to reuse cameras in the sense of roughly where they'd be positioned in relation to the original solve. but there's a
Okay.
certain freedom to that as well. And
Gotcha.
that's about, again, I think I think I have to stop there as far as the explanation. But the beauty is that we're gonna be releasing some of these characters for free to play with
cool.
into the community. So that's something like probably over the summer we'll do it, and along with tutorials of how to use this content. And my hope is that it brings the motion graphics and the Marvel's designer type people together more.
Right.
Because there's a lot of cool digital fashion happening, but there's not a lot of simulations on the actual fabric. And I'd love to see more of that. And so that's what I'm on the lookout for. And those are the kinds of artists we're looking to have take our technology for a spin, is people who want to like play with simulations, kind of like you saw that flip sim I was showing. I was going to say.
Yeah,
But
like
the beauty, sorry.
the fabric stuff, the clothing and everything. So is that all Marvelous? Is when you're doing it, are you using Marvelous to put the different clothes on them?
So
as well,
we a little bit. We ingest the Clo 3D formats in the DXF. I think it's DXF. Yeah. Those are like the traditional. I think the 3D printer version of textile. Forgive me if I'm off on that, but long story short, that format gives all the stitch information, so you can pack all the like, this piece connects to this piece. This is the front face. This is the back face, and so Houdini. And I'm not here to sell Houdini too hard because I know you're primary. I know you have Houdini users, but it's also accessible to the whole Cinema 4D world. But generally in our personal pipeline, we do a lot of we keep it in Houdini because we can troubleshoot the problems in Houdini. We have all this extra data from our solves that can be used to clean up things. And as we move forward, we're going to figure out how to translate that data to artist data. So, we're probably going to be in the middleware space of plugins. So in Cinema 4D, you'll use our plugin to bring in your character. It'll have the attributes you need. You can define, hey, do I want to redeform this character? Am I just going to use it as is? Because it's going to need, there's a few different levels of engine, but think of it from a stance of, there's the building the character, and then there's the playback of the character, the use of the character. And when I said the use of the character, we're going in the USD direction for variants and all that stuff. And trying to make it as universal as possible, so that like we were saying earlier with Redshift, open shader language, translating it to everything, Material X for Clarice, that sort of stuff.
When you're capturing, because I know these are retopoed, and then you do, like, I guess, a different level of polys based on whatever you're using it for. Like, how fine are these original captures as far as mesh data? And are they triangles? Are they quads? Like,
it's mostly triangle. So the raw data, or I don't want to call it raw because the raw data is enormous. The exported, the exported source data, let's call it that, from the system can range from 60,000 polys on average to about 200,000 polys a frame. But most of the details in the texture. So you can optimize the mesh and maintain those texture islands. You can give preference to heads, and if there's branding on a shirt or something, so you can kind of, there's a little bit of leeway within some of the systems to program that.
So much like when you're doing like regular photogrammetry, like say you're doing a building or something, or building anything. I mean, Matt, you have that tutorial where you retopo something. You can still use the same textures after you retopo, and it kind of gives it looks more realistic than it is if you were to just look at the raw polys, because you've got all that photographic information on top of it. It's going to be it's going to be interesting to see where that goes, because the resolution, I'm sure, over time is going to get even better, and then the ability for something like an iPhone or something to display even denser meshes over time, over the next, say, 10 years, is going to go up as well. So that's going to get better and better. When you're so when you're capturing that data and you're taking all that info in, like, what does the workflow look like? How do you manage to just manage all of that data?
Yeah.
Sure. So a lot of times you'll do your shoot. You can capture, it's between 15 and 30 minutes a day, I'd say, of content at between 30 or 60 frames a second. It's just there's a whole process of starting it, stopping it, managing all that data. So then a lot of the raw data you can usually store in a RAID. A 60 terabyte RAID can hold you for a little while there. It's heavy. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
And think about it. So you've got sequences. So on the other side of the RAID, an SSD RAID would be more ideal for when you're dealing with the individual frames. So so you almost need two separate types of RAIDs if you were to do this for a major production, if you will. You kind of need those two sources. But the long and short of it is, you can do an editorial process, and that's something that we help with some of the stages we work with. We streamline the dailies process so that clients don't need to deal with everything they shot. They can find the hero take, safety take, cut it to, and in this space you don't need handles too much because a lot of it's either interactive or going straight to a VFX use. So if you are doing handles, doing T poses and A poses is a good way to future-proof your data. Our machine learning doesn't require that, but it sure helps with like aligning where's the wrist joint, where's the ankle joint.
Yeah.
Because then they do a lot of movement. Sometimes if it's on the edge, it's not the end of the world to clean that data up, but we try to calibrate well on the front end. But so you end up, so I'd say each clip of about a minute you're dealing with, on the high end, maybe 4 to 7 gigabytes of data for a minute of content in its higher res form. That could vary depending on complexity. A lot of times you just shoot individual people, but in some cases you could shoot up to 4 or 5 people.
Wow.
But they're sharing the same UV real estate, so there's no U dimming going on. So
Interesting.
So unfortunately, that's the downside. So when we shoot crowds, we prefer to shoot individuals or 2 people at a time at once. Even for people in the background, just for clarity.
So how do you manage that data after you're done with it, right? So you use a RAID or whatever, but I'm imagining you're dumping that to some sort of archive. Are you putting that online, or are you just having to buy just like massive amounts of drives?
We do a little bit of RAID. We do cloud storage as well. We do a ton of AWS just across the board with all the stuff we're doing. In fact, like, don't get me started with all the different things. You need to have a PhD in AWS just to like hang with So it's not, that is my kryptonite, apparently. Like, anyway.
People are like, we'll just spin up a server. It's like,
right.
Will we?
It's very, there's so much to it. It's very intricate. A lot of settings that don't make sense to laymen. So our workflows, we optimize the content because by uniforming the data, we're able to compress a lot of the data down because it's now just point deformed information, numerical data, as opposed to, just having UV sets changing all the time is very complicated, especially for streaming this to the web, with an MP4 stream, because the video stream textures to web for this is all just traditional MP4.
And do you think that AI will maybe eventually play a part in helping to get those numbers down?
Oh yeah, it already is. There's like, I can't remember the example I saw, but there's some incredible examples of up-resing quality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that Topaz company that's built a few products
right.
that you can just, if you don't want to have to command line and learn any crazy stuff, you grab Topaz.
Yeah.
Because we've done a little bit of both, and that's certainly the easier way to get into this if you're trying to up-res your content. Because sometimes we want extra facial detail when we give preference to the faces.
Right.
You still some of the stages are still 8 bits, so you're still getting that, like, I'll call it JPEG noise, if you will.
Right.
You know, the blurriness within the pixels. So anytime we can get rid of that to up-res, it certainly is a noticeable improvement.
And there's a lot of people doing stuff with up-resing just faces, you know, like Rimini that we use actually for a lot of our stuff. You know, if we're upscaling a little thumbnail or something from one of our shows or something, you run it through there, and it's not a traditional upscaler. It's like a face upscaler. It adds facial detail.
What software is this? I'm curious.
It's called Rimini, and if you look at, like, you know, especially if you go to like the episodes of The Drop with Matt, you know, Matt will be doing some pose or something. I'll take and I'll run that through and have like a high res photo of Matt doing a pose or something from the show, and all I did was clip it from the MP4, you know, the little itty bitty MP4. But once I run it through Rimini, it adds this like fake facial detail. It's really great when you do it on like old photos, you know, like old family photos, you know, things like that.
If you've got a lot of detail or a fair amount of detail, like, it'll clean it up really well. If it's like a super compressed JPEG, it's really funny. I've seen a bunch of TikToks where people will take like super low res pixelated JPEGs of like the cast of Friends or something and do a before and after and show how terrible they look.
It looks like,
it's really funny. But
I can imagine that would work. That would really help in some of that stuff with the faces, you know. I don't know how it does frame to frame, but
the crowd toolkit, I'm looking at that, and it's cool. Like, I like the idea of what you guys are doing with all these crowds. It's like you'll have actual 3D data, you'll have them in different outfits, or be able to change the outfits per person, so you can get it to look different every single time.
What are you said you're planning on putting some samples out there this summer. What would that entail? Like, what would the format be if you were to release something like that?
I mean, it'll probably, without being definitive about it,
check with the lawyers real quick.
Or we might do an FBX. We might be doing a Lembic.
Sure.
You know,
but some sort of model for someone to try and use, right?
Yeah. You know, our goal, you know, how we'll do it is it'll probably be 60 frames a second, maybe 20, 30-second piece. So you can do a lot with it. And you know, we hired professional models, so they did a pretty good job with catwalk and whatnot.
Cool.
But one of the coolest things, the door that opens, the fashion side of it, is the different body types allow as scientific data to help real world fabrication. So, you know, we're helping a company called Savitude that does this thing called inclusive fashion. So they identify if a piece of clothing were to be stitched slightly differently, how many new body types can wear that piece of clothing.
Right. That's
and
cool.
The goal is, you know, like there's nine typical forms, shapes that you design in, but there's hundreds of different body types.
So instead of just being like, oh, I wear a large, it's oh, I'm a small up top but a large down below. I got the big beer belly, right?
You can cater it, and so the whole goal is, you know, user confidence. You find a model that embodies your body type and gives you the confidence, because they're models.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and I say that because you've probably seen a lot of the AR apps where you can stand in the mirror and put a suit on you or a sneaker or something, glasses, and it's, it wobbles around a little bit when you turn your head. So what we're trying to do is show you, if you were to buy this piece of clothing, if we were to photograph this CG piece of clothing in 2D, it would match. The flow would be exactly the same because we're trying. The clothing artists we're working with, their goal is for the realistic fabric.
See,
and representation of the actual like active wear or formal wear. These are the types of actions people would do in those clothings.
If somebody could come up with better clothing options than small, medium, large, XL, based on that would be really nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
To have like a number that represents your body type.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, this is a medium, but it's really big, or this is a medium, but it feels like a small, or or I have broad shoulders, or I have man boobs, I mean, like, you need to be able to say, because you get that one shirt and it really fits, like it's on point, and you're like, I wish all larges were like this, and you buy another large.
There's no,
it's not the same. That would be nice.
It probably varies from country to country too, wherever it's made, and
that
all
too.
kinds of things. Yeah.
Well,
that's why I guess you could stick to the suit measuring stuff, with the the flappy ruler.
Yeah, there was one time I got an XL. I ordered an XL to wear for a 5K, and it literally was the size of a small. I'm like, small. I'm like, there's no way. If I could say I'm a large, 4X to 5.3B. And that's actually what I wear, and that's my size, and that would be great.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
We got to be near measuring yourself with your phone. If you can measure a room today, next year you're gonna be able to. You're just gonna hold it to your neck, and it'll show you your neck, and then you'll put your arms out. It'll do it.
Yeah, LiDAR my man boobs so I can get a fitting shirt.
Then, Then one of the tech greats knows everything about your physique.
Right?
Yeah, and then your insurance
you're
goes up.
At risk. Yeah.
Dang it. There's always a gotcha. What about, okay, so you've got these stages, right? And you got green screen, you got lights all around and everything, right? But what about like IRL? What if you wanted to try and like take a setup to on location somewhere to capture something? Are there limitations to that right now? Is it very reliant on light?
There's a lot of limitations. It relies on camera calibration. So there's these guys out of Germany, I think they're VoluCap. They did stuff on the Matrix movie with some camera arrays underwater, did some cool stuff. And then there's a truck, Mark Roberts Motion Control, that has like a 18-wheeler in the UK they just bring around. But we've certainly explored the idea of this stage needs to be a piece of equipment, not a facility. And in a lot of cases, in fact, in almost all the cases, the facility cost is the price gotcha. It's not the it's the rental, the day rental of the studio itself is an inhibitor in a lot of ways.
Right.
Now, a lot of the stages have programs for creators. Hey, well, during these days, there's discounts or students or whatever have you. So it's not about, on an indie level, it's actually probably more accessible than on a boutique studio level, if that makes any sense. Just because but these stages are, the stages I was calling mid-grade stages, they're improving to become more, their quality gets exponentially better as the years go. And this technology has been around, I'd say professionally, about 5 years. Before then, it was around, but it wasn't like commercially viable. Some people might argue with that, but
well, I can just
even today it's hard. Yeah.
I can see where it's going in the future, though. That's the thing. You take this technology, you evolve it 20 years, and we're all, assuming we don't all kill ourselves, we'll
Right.
have AR glasses and everything in the next 20 years that are just normal every day. And I'm a big fan. Like, I'm a big fan of this. Like, this is AR stuff is really where I feel like there's a lot of interesting things that are going to happen. And I can imagine 10, 20 years from now, maybe you can't make it out to a concert, or a concert's too far away to go to or something, and you're like, oh, well, we're just going to have some people hang out at our place. We're just going to put the stage in the backyard, and then like it's just inputting stuff from a live capture system that you've built. And or we don't have a place. I'm just going to watch the concert on my desktop, really tiny people.
Right.
Like, are you working toward going that route? I mean, I know that's way off.
Oh
in
yeah,
the future,
absolutely.
but...
It's look at it as though our focus is the digital humans and activating them for all these use cases. So we've got partners who take it to that next level. So we had the hyper construct partners who they basically built their own social game engine, and you can white label it and everything. It's hard to get through the basics of installing everything the right way and loading it to your web page. But in theory, you can take the power right out of the hands of Meta and these companies, because it does everything the big VR chat worlds do. That Decentraland, all that stuff. It does all that without needing to install anything. So that's kind of what I think is the future. Is just one click, you're into these things. With your friends or whatever. So it's got the social media element of it, but it also has the interactive element. And the cool thing for artists, I think, is there's all this opportunity in the XR space with all this great tech, but it's like the under the hood is exposed right now. There's no beautiful shell over this technology. In a lot of cases. So like when you see these virtual worlds, it all looks like, my joke is they all look like heaven and ancient Greece met in the middle, like it's this beautiful cloudy world structure of some kind. And I'm guilty of making some of those visuals myself. So, but there's what I'm trying to really get at is there's a ton of demand for quality creative vision in this space with people who know 3D. And it's kind of like the early video game days of one map of everything's atlased on one UV page.
Right.
Like you're almost back to that level of simplicity, but in one click and you're in. So you can't really beat that. No installs, nothing. You could set it up with like an Eventbrite thing and launch events and everything. You could do all this NFT stuff. Dare I even talk about that? But it works with all that. It's kind of in the middle of that. We haven't adopted that technology too much because I want to get into NFT when you can actually interact with them. And I've been thinking that it'd be great to have puzzles you have to unlock. With anyway,
Yeah.
It
so that's the direction I want to see it go.
It reminds me of something that was ahead of its time at the time, but it was I worked on a set for it during South by Southwest for like a day, and I can't remember now. It was either somebody from the Monkees or somebody from the Beach Boys who invested in this thing, and it was doing that kind of live concert thing. Now this is before you could do this with 3D or something, but they were like capturing on a green screen. We were actually like capturing people doing performances live and then like putting it back into composites in real time and doing like virtual concert stuff. But it was
That's cool.
it was too early, like people just weren't ready for it yet, back then for that kind of thing, because the internet was so new and so slow and all of that. And I feel like this is really the way it's going to happen, is doing like this 3D, and once it becomes more and more real time, it's going to be a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when you can pick up your iPhone and do it,
And everyone can have a Tupac hologram, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. If you get to a point where you have some sort of office or performance center, whatever it is, where you could use this technology in your own room and just hook it up and say, here we go. Now we can all virtually
Yeah.
collaborate. That's going to be amazing. But, right now, what would you say like the biggest hurdle is? Like, is it data? Is it just resolution, technology, roadblocks, or?
There's a few roadblocks, to be honest, and it involves which one is the bigger of the roadblocks. What one is, tech companies with a ton of money are just diving into this space and trying to stamp their vision without having paid their dues in the space, if you will, understanding what does the consumer actually want, and so there's an element of that, but there's also the creating the smart customer for this in a couple ways. It's I like to think people are smart enough that they're ready to ingest holograms all around them, but think of all the standards and stuff that it has to be a certain way. It can't just even just public installations have to follow a lot of code. The headsets have to follow a lot of codes. So you get caught up in standards. Everybody's got their own proprietary formats, but there is standardization in the space that's starting to work itself out. There's a group specifically in this space that's come together, and we dabble in it. We started in it, but since we're still getting up and going, we didn't have the time to participate as directly. But moving forward with standards, more interaction and evangelism from the actual devices to get people to be like, hey, you could do this. And frankly, a lot of these marketing budgets these companies have, they should create more programs for the indie artists, the tinkerer groups that, I think that's what that Magic Leap company kind of failed at was there was a group of people who they allowed into this exclusive program to create things, and there were some really cool things done, but it was done in a weird, there's just something weird about it. I can't I can't put my finger on it, but it was the right energy, then it wasn't. And so I think if there's more means to get this content out there, so I'm hoping these stages have more programs for indie artists to come in. I hope that the manufacturers of the more affordable stages are able to open in more cities so people can, flock to the near production company. They host an event. Hey, we're covering this. Come shoot with us. That kind of stuff. Sorry for the rambled.
No,
fragment.
that's fine.
No, you're fine.
I don't know if you want to talk cost or anything, but and if not, I guess people can contact you. But some of it is the stage itself. I know, and are you setting this up in a particular stage every time, or do you have a stage?
We're at stage agnostic, so there's a bunch of stages around. Most of them are United States that we work with. We currently don't have our own stage. We've explored what a stage would look like. Honestly, it would probably be a lot of R&D related stuff, but we'd make it available for creators. So, but like I said earlier, the facilities themselves, the facility cost is kind of the big cost.
Yeah, right.
A lot of the companies they'll be flexible on the data side of it because they obviously want to win the client and get the job. And frankly, this content needs to be more prevalent because then the demand will grow. Because everybody sees this is blown away. I rarely meet somebody who sees it for the first time that's just like, meh. So, I think that so that's what we're trying to do is evangelism and education of it. We've got a very open door of anybody that wants to dabble in this. Our tools are kind of Frankensteined right now, so we're not ready to release licensed software, but we're certainly in a position to collaborate, and we're picking up white glove service jobs, if you will. But our goal there is to understand what our clients' pain points are to craft the software for the facility. Because we're still trying to figure out, is it the major facilities that want huge crowd pipelines to replace something like Massive, or is it people like Cinema 4D users who can they're really scrappy with what they can do, and the digital art community grows when there's new cool visuals and whatnot. So I'm not sure yet what's going to be the adoption point, but we're doing everything we can to make this accessible to people.
Well, we always talk about having stuff in your back pocket, like, maybe I don't know everything about Unreal, but I've dabbled in it to know whether or not if a client comes and needs something done, okay, I know we can go this direction. I might have to hire some people smarter than me.
Right.
But, I know we can go this direction. And it's nice to learn about these types of technologies, because if it comes up and somebody comes to me and they need something like that, of course you're going to be the first person I think of, and I think that anyone who has a serious client coming to them with something like this is going to have hopefully is going to have a budget for something like this, so you build it at cost, but it's something good.
Sorry, it's not extremely, I don't want to give the wrong impression that it's not extremely expensive. I'm just saying, I don't know if you guys have ever had to rent a green screen stage, but you're like, how does this cost that much? Is kind of my attitude. And you have to paint it yourself usually too. So
right.
So think of it in that vein of, a lot of times you have to, it's not as simple as, hey, I'm going to rent an Alexa or a Red camera or something, and that's what we'd love to see this become is, hey, I'm going to rent a capture stage to do this project.
Yeah. Right.
And then, it is what it is. But
those people are doing they got to pay for the electricity and the personnel and the paint and the it's spendy.
And it takes it takes like a minimum of 2 to 3 people to run one of these stages, like a crew, and that's bare bones usually.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for your stuff, or are you saying the stage in general?
Just one of these stages in general. You get somebody operating it to start, stop, record. You get somebody, usually a runner or somebody on set who can also operate as a assistant director sort.
How do you are you able to play back on set? I don't know if you addressed that or not. Are you able to play back and make sure that you've got a shot?
Yeah, so a lot of times you run spy cameras or whatever, just feeds to the stage itself. So you have to run that as an auxiliary shoot during the actual capture. But in some of the stages can play back an instant point cloud video of the performance. Some of them can process a few frames in a few minutes, so you can see a fully constructed frame to make sure, hey, some of the talent we shot have really long fingernails. We need to make sure we weren't losing it, or there's hairstyles. You want to make sure it's not projected onto the head or anything.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about hair. Like, how hard is that to deal with?
Yeah.
It's pretty difficult. Curly hair is a nightmare. Beards are kind of tough. I don't know how soon that's going to be fixable, if you will. From our stance, throw some CG hair on the character,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There's some pretty good groom tools out there that it might be easier to do that than to fix polygonal, my weird curl things in my hair,
Yeah, so you just kind of go with what do you do? Do you put on a bald cap?
No.
If you want somebody to like a model, or we're gonna do 4 different hairstyles. How do you do that?
Honestly, ponytails and hairspray is your friend, and then dulling spray for shiny specular things. Some of the stages can handle the high specular. They usually do it for the depth sensing, but it's not pretty especially dealing with translucent things. Just forget about all that.
I see.
Yeah.
So you're saying that like these stages actually have the gear as well. So you're handling it after the gear.
Yeah, sorry if I was confusing. So the system is usually a series of calibrated cameras, anywhere from 20 to 150, depending on whatever the specs are. Some of them can be, some of them are RGB purely, and they use machine learning. Some of them are RGB depth, and they reconstruct. For the most part, those are manufacturers. There's about 7 or 8 of the like expensive stages, and then there's probably about 7 or 8 of the medium, more affordable stages. And one of the biggest differences of the two is the capture range. So having more space to capture in, and the frame rate are the two biggest differences. And obviously, in some cases, the color of the data. But those are the biggest differences between the high end and the, I'm sorry, I keep using the word mid-grade. It's because it's certainly better than mid-grade, but it's the easiest way to differentiate, because it's certainly not low budget, and they can do some really cool stuff. But so a specific system captures all the content simultaneously, reconstructs the 3D object. You output, if you're going to a game engine, you can output to their proprietary plugins. But in our case, you usually output either to OBJs, PLYs, or Alembic with PNG textures. And the textures are usually 8 or 10-bit, depending.
Gotcha.
And they range from 2K to 4K usually. I've seen a little bit of 8K, but it looks just scaled up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Cool stuff.
But yeah, it's a really cool art form, and like I said, it's just now production viable, where, like you're saying, if a company has a budget, the companies shooting this have the competency to do it correctly, and then in some cases we're the middleware. We pick up that content from them and make the assets art directable. So then, like we were saying earlier, you can paint things on the characters. The UV set we give, it can be laid out any way you want, because we've got, it's just point deformation at that point.
Yeah.
And so we do solve markerless motion capture rigs, biped rigs, traditional rigs, so you can add a separate animation layer after the fact to it, but that skeleton has the existing animation baked into it already, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of offsetting it with animation layers, similar to what Motion Builder back in the day, I haven't used Motion Builder in 10 years, so they made me use
I was going to ask you what the strangest thing is that you've captured. I mean, you already showed us the horse thing, but is there anything?
Oh, man.
Anything else?
We shot some magician people.
Hey.
We shot one of the Power Ranger stunt guys. He does a backflip. So, like, we shot a backflip. That was a big thing on my checklist. I want to shoot somebody backflipping. So, craziest thing. We almost shot a tiger. Somebody else shot a tiger. And the reason we didn't is because we saw the capture, and the fur is just like, it looks like a wet tiger, and there's no way around it, like when it solves the polygons, it's just the hair just gets smushed in,
Yeah.
So
I imagine it's hard to. That's a lot of dulling spray as well, right?
Right? Yeah. But we did a Old Spice spec with a dude that was supposed to be like a guys doing air guitar in the shower, because they have like an air guitar flavor or whatever. And so we jokingly gave the guy, one of our friends had a really classic early 70s Gibson SG, like the kind you hang on the wall. So we had the guy, we shot it separately, and we had the guy perform like he's in a bathtub in a towel and everything, and then we comped the guitar later, and it was a nightmare just because, like, the detail, and he's not moving around a lot, which made it even worse, like 3D tracking when things are wobbling a little bit. So we never released that, but but it was a fun. It was real early on for us with our testing. We didn't have any. We weren't wild capture yet. We didn't have our. We were still figuring out what we were doing.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, that's right around when we decided to be wild capture. But
That's cool.
I don't know if there's any other questions in the chat currently. If there are, go ahead and put those in. In the meantime, though, we got a whole slew of questions that we like to ask our guests when they're on for the first time, because it helps to sometimes show a little bit about their background and where they're coming from in some of their endeavors. And so the first one we're going to ask you is your favorite movie, and these can be all time or recent.
I used to say Big Fish because it was like fantastical. It was a pretty movie. It had a little bit of everything. I'm sure I have a different answer today, but like I don't have time to enjoy movies. Like,
right?
Yeah.
Like I wish, I wish I had more time for that.
Yeah. I'm the same way. It's like finally after COVID, all of these shows are coming back, and I don't even have time to catch up on them.
Yeah. I finally saw Lightyear this weekend. It was all right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I have to bring my son to that.
Yeah. I took my kid. It's weird because it's like Lightyear is the movie that the toy is based on in the Toy Story universe.
But it's not actually him.
But the toys that it doesn't look like him. Like, it's technically Lightyear live action for Andy, or is it cartoon?
Are they trolling kids? Because as a kid, that would confuse the crap out of me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So,
what about TV shows? Speaking of not being able to watch anything,
right?
They keep canceling everything I like to watch. So the most recent one I liked, but I also like it made it uneasy for me to watch too. Was that Ridley Scott Raised by Wolves show? You see that?
Man. Oh, I watched probably like 3 episodes or 4 episodes of that, and it was weird. I couldn't.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it's like visually interesting. And then I like that Severance show for the same reason of weirdness. Severance on Apple was just super bizarre, and I was just like, wow, I'm captivated by these bizarre shows because I just want to see something a little bit different, like shocking, but not like gore shocking or violence shocking, just other kinds of shocking.
Yeah.
Right. Matt has a question here in the chat. So I have a question. I have 10x Connect V2s instead of Connect Azures. Are they useless for this level of volumetric capture that y'all are doing?
They're certainly not useless. There's actually a company to check out called Scatter.
Okay.
I think that's the name of the company. That might be the name of the product, but they connect those depth cameras. And another company we talk with is SOAR. I'm not sure, SOAR. I'm not sure I'm not sure how they do it, so I might be off with them. But I know Scatter has a product.
Depth Kit.
Yeah, Depth Kit.
TV. Okay.
Exactly. So that's pretty good. That's the one that a lot of people getting into this. You see, because you can do some cool motion graphic stuff. So, a lot of the capture systems we're using are pretty high-end machine learning cameras. For the company we mostly work with is called 4D Views. Okay. So 4D like Cinema 4D, but then Views, and they're out of France, and we like them pretty much because it's the right amount of customization. So my partner Lewis is a cinematographer, so he knows lights and cameras like nobody's business, and he's able to beautify the faces just simply by changing the lighting, playing with the camera controls like you were saying earlier. You can adjust the f-stop on the actual machine cameras, so adding more light in some cases. Get better results, and you can play with the contrast, because in a lot of cases some of these stages have difficulty constructing body features, so you'll see the nose sometimes is missing data, especially if somebody like does a lot of head turning or something. It just kind of like blends in. But
You get like a lot of specular on the nose. I'm assuming that kind of thing. I've noticed that like when I'm using my crappy one that I have, you know, there's certain things that'll freak it out. You know, I guess that's why I use the dull spray.
yeah, and it luckily it wipes right off because we've sprayed some pretty expensive things with that dull spray, like jewelry and everything.
Yeah, I have it's the newer version of the Kinect, the new one that they came out with. But I know a lot of people like those Intel cameras. But if I'm not mistaken, they stopped making them or something. And
They changed. It's tricky because they discontinued something, but they kept something else going. And I think they're still selling the cameras. That department's just not making industrial grade sensors or something. I don't know. I talked to them a little bit when I was at Intel. They had a whole team doing some really cool stuff. But unfortunately, the distance that signal travels is very shallow. So you can't, you can't go great distances. So it'll be great when there's like a shotgun mic version of this.
Right.
You can like, oh man, all the nature photography of like the dangerous animals and holograms.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool to put one of those cameras inside of a cage at the
drone.
zoo.
Yeah.
Or a drone. Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. What were we on? Oh, music. Favorite music.
Yeah.
I've always liked things from the jazz sort of things. I kind of grew up with the hippie music, so Grateful Dead and Fish, going to those concerts in the Northeast.
Nice.
So, with the Guns N' Roses and all that inspiration from the 80s. So, but again, there's some random bands I like. There's a band called Lotus that's kind of in that group that's a little bit more electronic, but it's still like that jam band stuff. So I have a pretty open ear, like just good music is good music, but obviously when we gravitate, I just stick with the stuff I know.
Do you have like work music that's different from your favorite music, or is it all kind of the same?
I actually watch TV shows in the background when I can, so it's like, so I get to rewatch the same, like HBO or Deadwood on HBO was a popular one because the dialogue and all the dialects is so rich with personality that those kind of shows are good in the background. So.
And do you listen to podcasts at all, or?
Here and there. My wife usually tells me about all the murder mystery ones, but she spoils it for me.
Those are fun.
Usually,
yeah.
But
the classic. What was the original? What was the classic NPR one?
The Serial.
Serial.
Yep.
Yeah. Male Kimp. The next one on the list is favorite plugin. Should be interesting.
Favorite plugin. Oh man.
You can't choose a render engine either.
I know, right?
It's got to be.
Are we talking Cinema 4D? Because I can
be anything
within that range.
Well, yeah, this is why it's interesting. Maybe you have a plugin we've never heard of before.
I'd say back in the day, Krakatoa was probably my favorite because it unlocked so many things that, and it for a minute there, particles were better in Cinema 4D than in 3ds Max because of the single-threaded stuff you deal with at the P-Flow. So, personally, that was right around when I was doing Fume Effects. I was an early adopter of all that stuff. So, Real Flow, Fume Effect, like all those when those were the flavors of the month. That's where I was.
And I remember a lot of people talking about that, and I couldn't get myself a copy. It was too expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to buy it, but I didn't use it. It was all indie stuff, so
yeah,
it was arguably a trial license.
Yeah,
but yeah, because Fume Effects wasn't cheap back in the day, and and I was installing it I was doing the whole Autodesk 1 month wipe your hard drive 1 month, like I wasn't good enough at the time to be paid to be a 3ds Max artist, so I was just like, it was that period. It was that
we all go through that
2000s period or mid 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, we all go through that period, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I learned a ton of stuff, and I'm psyched that nowadays a lot of those companies, or a lot of the companies making plugins, do the freeware trial.
Yeah, same.
They give you they give it to you, like, even if they watermark it, who cares? That's awesome. They're giving you the features to play with.
Yeah.
And it certainly makes the whole artist group more competent.
Yeah.
Because if there's a free version, you can at least access them when you get the a client coming to you or whatever. You're like, all right, time to buy. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a good way. That's how they
100%.
get you.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there is almost the monetization system somebody should use all this blockchain for, is tracking when people use software professionally, personally.
Yeah, I think that's coming for sure.
Yeah.
What about go-to app? What's your muscle memory app on your phone?
I mean, since I've been doing this, it's probably LinkedIn because I have to correspond with everybody. But see, hopefully they're not listening because I can't stand social media.
Yeah.
So it's painful. It's great. I love corresponding with the people in this industry and what this opportunity of starting this business has done. Like, it's given me the opportunity to meet so many people that I might have just walked by at a mixer or something before. So I like that I'm forced to engage everybody, and it's been a really rewarding experience meeting everybody.
I need to get into LinkedIn more. I don't know why. It feels like Facebook, or feels like old Facebook even. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't like it because you have to sell yourself all the time. So it's like, you almost
schmoozy
have to be,
Facebook.
Yeah. So I always like the memes when people like make fun of like, this is what you say you do and this is what you really do. Because
Right.
Like, there's not a single person on there that's lives up or is truly modest with what they're saying there, and you can't be. It's like it breeds that level of confidence.
Yeah, here's what I say I do, and it's like your demo reel. Here's what I actually do: email. Yeah.
Right.
Where's my invoice? Where's my invoice?
Pay me.
Yeah.
This should be interesting. Video games. Do you play any?
Video games. I haven't played in a while. I used to like for a little while I worked on interesting games, Star Wars Galaxies, like on the community side.
Okay.
And so that got me. I never liked the World of Warcraft game because it was like on rails or something. But I loved this other Star Wars Galaxies game because you could just build a city and just like say screw objectives, whatever, just host a party of people. So it actually was like the first real social game engine that I played on. And so I like that, but I also like the open world games, I guess you could say. So, but I only have, like, for the Grand Theft Auto type games, I only have like 4 days of attention span. You know?
Yeah.
So
I
like,
go through phases with that stuff, you know.
And on the third day, I'm downloading cheat codes and mods to be able to fly, or like infinity rocket launchers or whatever, you know.
Or like me, I'll just go ahead and pay real money for the in-game currency so that I can just get to the point and buy myself that tank I want so bad for $1 million, you know. Yeah, I'm too impatient. Now the last one, this is a tough one. This is a life hack. And this could be something funny. It could be something actually useful. It doesn't matter. Mitch Myers is the example we give. He says, turn your toaster on its side for some bomb-ass grilled cheese.
Okay.
So what would you say is a good life hack? If you could recommend any life hack to somebody.
Well, the one I used to use before debit cards that would always work is when you're at a drive-through window, and you don't have the exact change, you just purposely drop the change all over the place.
That's awful.
And
that's pretty good. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it, right?
Like, you don't greatly underpay, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't be a jerk about it, but like if it's 109 and you only have 105, you just drop those coins, you know?
Yeah,
that's funny.
Take a penny.
I saw a TikTok unethical life hack the other day where they had two friends, right? Someone went through the drive-through, and then some other car got in the middle, and then the other one went to the next one. And so the first person just ordered a soda, right? And then went through and they said, "Hey, can I pay for the person behind me?" Right? And so then the next person, then their other friend who was at the last place ordered what they really wanted, so that the person in between would pay for the person behind them.
Right. And they ordered like
right, so they
$100
ended up,
worth of food.
yeah, exactly.
This is those when you're racing to get your the 2-lane drive-throughs or whatever.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, here's the thing about paying it backward, especially at Starbucks, right? Only one person is going to benefit from that in the end.
Right, and that's the last person.
That's whoever decides that they're not going to pay for the person behind them.
Right.
So you shouldn't feel bad. I mean, somebody's got to be the benefactor, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And for the record, I don't play the change game on tips with regards to tips, because Starbucks, I tip those people,
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's it. That's it for our stuff on the Mograph recommends list. I don't know if anybody has any more questions or not, and anything that we didn't cover. I feel like we covered a lot.
It's such an interesting field, It's so much.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's motion graphics, it's 3D animation and stuff like that, but it's so different than what we're doing on a daily basis.
Right.
And it's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something a little off the beaten path every once in a while.
For sure.
To get our brains going.
Yeah. Pleased to be here, and this space certainly needs artists. So these we're enabling the job we're doing is just enabling these digital humans to be art directed. We need the artists to meet us in that handshake and take over and say, I want to see them do this. I want to see them do that. And so that's, for us, that's the most rewarding part of being in this particular industry is you guys are tinkerers. You mess with things. It's fun to, and I love it when funny things come out of it too. There's a lot of humorous motion graphics. So I'm sure with digital humans, it's gonna. You guys were referencing the Beeple stuff earlier. So could you imagine the weird stuff he'd create with these digital humans?
Right. Yeah, we should get him out to a studio and have him do some fun stuff.
And I reached out to him years ago to try to hire him for a thing when he did that Erykah Badu thing. Like we're talking like before he was the
before he was Beeple.
The icon he is. Yeah.
Right. But he was an instant hit by releasing all those free
the VJ
the
VJ
project files and I remember opening those and just being like, this is black magic in these files.
Yeah. Yeah, I opened up the files for that short film he did. Oh gosh, what was it called? I almost had it. This is probably like 2014 or something.
Yeah.
The people in the houses or whatever.
It was
glass
the
one.
It was the one with you're inside kind of a tech environment and there's news clips playing and stuff.
Okay.
That one. It was Octane, and Octane was really just
0 Day
on the scene. 0 Day. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. But
that's right around when I didn't get into. I always thought Octane was incredible, but I didn't get into it just for whatever reason. So when he started releasing those, I was just like, I can't play with these files.
Oh, I loved it. I was just getting into Octane too, and I was like, this is perfect. I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
The people who adopted Octane had that distinct advantage over people right at that hot moment.
Yeah. If people want to find you online, how can they get a hold of you if they want to ask some questions and learn more?
Yeah, well, we're wildcapture.io is our website. We've got a digital human blog there, so there's a ton of information. We're trying, like I said, it goes beyond what our company's doing. We're trying to evangelize the volumetric video digital human industry a little bit. So, reaching out there is probably the easiest way. Like I said, I'm on LinkedIn, as I mentioned earlier, but I love to use it so much. No, but I do like meeting new people, and my door is open for anybody that wants to ask us about this. And you know, we're open to working with artists. We try to bring people who have the right attitude onto projects with us. So that's kind of how we've been doing our initial collaboration with artists. But we just started. We literally just started getting going too. So
Yeah.
it's all ramping up. Literally since 3 or 4 months ago.
Cool.
How about the grams or Twitter or anything? Are you posting stuff on there as well? Or yeah, I know you said you don't really like social media.
Yeah, my partner Lewis covers a handful of that. He's a cinematographer, Lewis Normandin. He's also the COO of the company. But he's very, very personable. He makes up for my crass whatever.
Just skip straight to TikTok. Just go right to TikTok.
Yeah.
That's where you need to be
Right?
anyway. Right?
Well, what's coming after TikTok?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, just spare me having to adopt a new platform.
Yeah. I think we're going to be in TikTok for a while. So
Yeah.
it's a good spot. I think you probably get a lot of traction on, putting some of these samples up on TikTok or something,
Yeah. I know other people have in this space. I mean, the answers will probably get around to it. And if you guys think there's a demand for it, we'll check it out.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you being on. We're gonna get out of here. You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review. It helps get our ratings up. Subscribe on your podcatcher of choice, and you can say you've been there, done that, got the T-shirt with the Mograph logo tee. Paul Babb, Feel the Babb 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. The Render Things T-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee. The Mograph Blandishment shirt, and of course the That Render is Fire shirt, which you are only allowed to wear ironically, unless you're
Shams. Yeah.
And if you want to get a hold of us, remember info@mograph.com. Send in your questions, send in your show topic ideas, and all the things. And check out Mograph TV, mograph.com/TV, or you can just see it straight on our YouTube, youtube.com/Mograph. You can find it on there, and turn it on at your place of business. Put it on at your college you're at. Put it on your spare TV when you're working, and turn it on and yank the knob off.
Yeah.
You might be watching it right now. There's always something cool on, and so make sure you tune into that, subscribe, and did I forget anything? Yeah, we're on YouTube, mograph.com. If you're looking for a show, show schedule or anything like that, see who's coming up. Next week, Monday is the 4th of July, so we will not be having a show. And the week after that, Matt will be out of town, but we're still going to have a show. Jags is going to be guest hosting.
Guest host.
And we're going to
It'll be the best episode. Watch. Everyone will be like, dude, that Matt guy, no way.
So that's that day we're going to have our the resident AI, Ellie Wade.
Yes.
Join us. And
I'm sad I'm going to miss that one.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
She had to
I'll have to call
reschedule.
in from
Disney
World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Cool. Well, that about wraps it up. We're going to get out of here. Until next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
I'm Will. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Later, yo.